All right. So I am like a middle school teacher, so I come complete with like candy and pictures. So, you know what? That's just the way it goes. So I'm going to start off with a story of my teenage years. So once upon a time, a few years back, I was in high school like you guys were. I was a junior. And guys, I know parents tell you that they don't have a favorite child. They're lying to you, I think. I mean, I'm not a mother yet. I think that they have a favorite child, the one that gives them the least gray hairs. Now, I do believe that parents love all their children, but they have one that just makes their life a little easier that they're proud to showcase in public. You know what I'm saying? Guys, I was the cream filling to the Oreo. My brothers were not really that hard to beat. They were ornery and kind of bad sometimes. And so I was the cream filling to the Oreo, the best part. And my parents trusted me, and I most of the time did the right thing. But as we got older, I started to realize that there was unfair treatment. Like our curfew was like 11:30, and I would show up at like 11:25. Look at me, Mom, I'm home. Gold star, please. And then my brothers would roll in at 1 o'clock, 12:30, and they wouldn't get a punishment. I'd be like, what? And it's like, I expect better from you, Callie. I don't care what you expect. We live under the same roof. Like, I would like to stay out till 12:30, 1 o'clock. And I started getting bitter about it. I was like, "Ugh, just because I'm the good kid and follow the rules, like, they should get punished for not following the rules." And so I took things into my own hands. There was a party, and I wanted to go. Everyone was going. My friends were going. I was like, fine. You won't trust me to stay out, and Derek and Garrett can break curfew all the time with no punishment. I guess I will too. So I tried to beat the system. And I was like, I'm going to spend the night at a friend's house. Yep. So I asked Missy, I was like, hey, let's spend the night at your house. Your mom lets us stay out late for curfew. She goes, all right, that's fine. And so I told my mom, hey, I'm just going to be spending the night at Missy's house. We're just going to hang tight and have a girls' night, mani-pedis, popcorn, movies, the whole shindig. There's not going to be boys. We're just going to be us. And my mom's like, okay, like if you go anywhere, text me, and I want you back at her house at 11:30. Like 11:30, what a baby curfew. And so I was like, okay, Mom. And I didn't know that my mom was actually smart. And she actually called Missy's mom and was just like, hey, just double checking. Are the girls going to stay at your house tonight? My curfew for Callie is 11:30. And she's like, oh, yeah, they're staying over here. But I think they were going to go to a party, and Missy's curfew is 1 o'clock. And my mom's like, she didn't tell me that detail. Now, my mom could have called me and be like, get your little butt home, which my mom was kind of scary, guys. She was very scary. And she didn't. She was giving me the opportunity to come clean. She was hoping that a little guilt would straighten me out. And I didn't get straightened out. I went to the party, and I had a great time. It was fun. And then we went back to Missy's house. Her mom made us waffles in the morning. And we were good kids, so it's not like we were out doing bad things at this party. We were just having fun with our friends, clean fun. And in the morning, I went home, and I'm like, hey, Mom. She goes, hey, how was your sleepover? I was like, it was great. And she goes, was it? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, did you guys leave or do anything? And I'm like, no, we were just having a girls' night, painting my toes. Yeah, painting my toes so I looked good at the party before we left. And Mom was like, are you sure you didn't go anywhere? And then finally she's like, Callie, I know you went. Okay, you went to the party. You broke my trust. You lied to me. I don't expect that of you, Callie. I am so disappointed. And I'm like, oh, my heart. I am the cream filling to the Oreo. I do not feel like the cream filling anymore. I feel like the soggy cookie left at the bottom of the milk, okay? And I was just like, oh, man. I broke in my mom's trust. I got grounded. My phone got taken away. I lost internet privileges. I didn't have a life for a solid month. And I was really mad. I was like, Derek and Garrett, who are my brothers, by the way, they never get in trouble. Why am I in trouble? And so I grew in kind of bitterment. Now, every relationship at some point or another is going to go through some rough waters. I do believe that there are three components to heal a relationship, but we're going to get there in a second. So today, my story is about King David and Absalom. We've talked about King David for a long time now, so you guys should know a lot about this guy. And we are now going to kind of hear from Absalom, Amnon, and Tamar, how they enter into the story. So I like visuals. I'm a visual person. And I know sometimes when we learn new stories, there's so many characters going on, we're like, what's happening, right? So visuals. So we obviously have King David, and we know who he is. Now his oldest son, who is going to inherit the throne, is Amnon. Okay, so he's next in line to be the king. And then he has a brother, a stepbrother, Absalom, whose sister is Tamar. Now, Tamar, guys, was a beaut. She was a head turner. So it's like if you were walking down the street, you'd be like, whoa, who's that girl? Okay? She was gorgeous. And Absalom had some gorgeous tendencies of himself. He was known for his hair. His hair was thick, it was just shiny, and it was healthy looking, and it was one of his best features, okay? You're going to have to remember that for later in the story. So we have King David, his eldest son, who's going to inherit the throne, his other son, and Tamar. These two are related. They are step-siblings to Amnon, okay? Because you know King David liked the ladies and he had a lot of wives. That's how that happened. So go to the next slide for me, please. Going back to forgiving relationships, I believe that there are 3 components to heal a relationship. You need love, acceptance, and forgiveness. Now, my mom and I, we had love. We loved each other, okay? So we wanted to get through this. My mom had to accept that I lied to her. I had to accept that I had a punishment, whether I liked it or not, or whether it was fair that my brothers didn't get one and I did. It didn't matter. I had to accept that. We had to accept the facts. And once you accept the facts, you can move forward. So we had to forgive. My mom had to forgive me for lying, and I had to forgive my mom for putting a punishment on me, but not putting the same punishment on my brothers. In a way, it was an odd compliment. But when I was your age, I did not look at it like that. I looked at it and got really angry. So in the story of Absalom, there is so many components that we could talk about. And I finally was like, there's no way I can cover all this. And so I found a theme, relationships. Because in your life, all of us are in relationships. A relationship with our parents, with our siblings, with our friends, with our coaches, with our teachers, with the youth leaders, okay? With your little siblings. We are always going to be in a relationship. And I know that there are people sitting out here today who have a broken relationship in their life, and it's poisoning our hearts. Okay, it's holding us down, it's keeping us separated from God. So through the story of David and Absalom, we're going to learn some practical ways we can keep our relationships healthy. So there's 5 scenes that we are going to talk about. Please go to the next slide. Thank you. The first scene is Absalom's grievance with his father. So this is what happened. So remember our characters. So Amnon obviously his sister is Tamar. It's a stepsister. Well, he burned with lust for Tamar. He wanted to sleep with his stepsister. Ewy, okay? And he does. He tricks her and rapes her. So Amnon rapes his stepsister. Now, because Amnon is the next in line for the throne, everything's just kind of swept under the rug. It's okay. We're just going to, bad future king, okay? And then, King David, he's not too much better himself. Remember Bathsheba? Well, he forced her to sleep with him. Guys, that's rape. Forcing a woman upon her will, that's rape. It's still rape. So King David, even though he married her, it's still rape. And King David's like, I kind of did that. I don't really want to punish my son because who am I to talk? I did that in my life. Now, Absalom is furious. That's my sister, and you disgraced her. Ladies, back in the day, if you were raped by your brother, a man would not touch you with a 10-foot pole. You are damaged goods. You will never find a husband. You will never regain your honor. Your life is ruined. So Absalom's like, I am so mad that you did this to my sister. She had such a bright future. She had so many husbands that would have given her a good life and taken care of her, but now she'll have none. Okay, so Absalom is growing with this anger. Anger at himself for not revenging Tamar, and anger at his dad for not doing anything about it. So what we can learn from this scene about relationships is, 1, the lack of communication in a relationship can lead to problems. Okay, we need communication. And number 2, the unwillingness to ask for God's guidance can lead us down a destructive path. Okay, where in this story did they ask for God's guidance? Nowhere. Amnon could have been like, God, I'm lusting for my sister, and it's wrong. That's sinful. Help me with this sin. Absalom could have been like, God, I want to kill my brother. I'm so upset at my dad and my brother. Help me with forgiveness. King David could have said, Lord, I'm struggling with the regret of my own past. Help me overcome this so I can be a good parent and be fair, be a just king. They didn't ask God. So that brings us to our second scene of the story. Next slide, please. So Absalom's chosen course of action. Notice I emphasize chosen. Why? Because we always have a choice, guys. There's always a way out. There's always a back door. We always have a choice. So it's important to remember that Absalom had a choice too. What should he have done? go to his father and discuss his inner feelings? I know inner feelings are scary. Maybe ask God what to do. What would you guys do if you're in his shoes? Turn to somebody and tell them, what would you do? This is the point where you participate. Go ahead and try it out. It's fun. All right, is anyone brave enough to share what they would do? I know it's scary in high school to share out loud. I'm not used to that. I'm used to people like, sit in your seat, calm down, don't blurt out. All right, nobody? All right, well, I'm sure what you want to try, Lou? Okay, what did you come up with? This is what you'd do if you were in Absam's shoes. Okay, you killed Amnon. Interesting you say that. Interesting you picked that out. What else may be a different alternative? What would you do? Pray for them? That's a good one. So I'm sure almost everything you came up with, besides that one, I'm sure was probably better than what Absam actually did. So let's see what happened. So instead of making a better choice, he grew in anger and bitterness for 2 years. So in his head, he's fighting this demon. I want to kill Amnon. No, don't kill him. Oh, I want to kill him. How can I kill him? Oh, let's figure this out. So he plots how he's going to kill him. And guess what? He kills him. He waits until he's drunk and he kills him. He murdered his stepbrother in cold blood. So it seems that justice was done, right? You raped your sister. You deserve it. But sometimes we feel like we're doing the right thing, but in the end, we choose the path that leads to destruction. Then Absalom, after he murders his brother, he just exiles himself. He leaves Jerusalem, and he doesn't return for a long time. So what we can learn about relationships from this scene of the story is revenge is never the answer. It will never free us from our pain, ever. And then the second one is really important. Justice belongs to God. He is the ultimate judge, period. It's not our job to be like, oh, well, murder is worse than rape, and lying is actually worse than lust. And, oh, you look at pornography? I'm not as bad as you. I just was dishonest with my mom. Who are we to judge? It is not our place to judge, right? It's God's place, and we need to remember that. And sometimes I struggle with that. It's easy to judge people. Raise your hand if you've ever judged somebody before. I could raise 2 hands, okay? We all have judged people, and it's not our place. So that leads us to the next scene number 3. Thanks, you're doing great back there. All right, the tragedy of unspoken love. Now, guys, this is a problem in our culture. How many times have you thought about something really good about someone, like an encouraging thing, and we just don't say it? Like maybe I think like, oh, Skylar, you look really pretty today. Or, hey, you did a great job in your track meet, or whatever. Or maybe it's just, thanks for always being a good friend. You're always encouraging. I love being around you. You're positive. I just want to tell you that. We don't say what we feel on the inside. So yesterday we had a team meeting, and it was Reg's birthday. Woo! And we did something really cool. We all sat around, and everyone took turns going through saying what they loved most about Reg, what they admired most about Reg. And we just shared our feelings. Now, we've been thanking him. I've been thanking what I shared for years, since the day I met him and thought he was Alan's dad, okay? I've always thought these things. And then, I know that Reg left that feeling so uplifted and so just full, because all we did was pour praise and adoration on him. Now, if that would have been the case in this story, things might have gone differently. So let's see what happens. So after Absalom murdered his brother Amnon, he fled. Now, David loved Absalom. It was his son. David had forgiven Absalom for killing his half-brother, because let's just remember in David's life, was David ever a murderer? Yeah. He sent Uriah straight to the front line to try to hide his sin and killed him. And then he also killed people in battle, but that was different than murder, like it is. It's weird, but it is. Okay. But basically, Mr. Macho wouldn't bend because he had this pulling in his heart. I miss my son. I miss Absalom. I should send for him and pull him back. I should forgive him. We should talk. I should just explain to him why it was hard for me to punish Amnon. I should explain to him why I'm feeling the way I am. I miss him. He's my son. I love him. But instead, Mr. Macho wouldn't bend. He was stubborn. Nope, you know what? He wronged too. He left without saying anything. Good riddance. He can come to me. Okay, so they're stubborn. I lost my spot. So it took a very wise woman to kind of talk to David and trick him with a story. Not really trick, but inspire. I like that word better. Inspire him to make a better choice through her story. She was a wise woman. And finally, after David talking to this wise woman, he was like, I see my sin now. I need to go get my son. And so he sends for his son, Absalom, bring him back to Jerusalem. So he does. But when he first brings him back to Jerusalem, they still don't talk for like 2 years. So they're getting closer, getting warmer, but still not there. So what we can learn from this scene is if you are struggling in a relationship with someone, seek wise counsel. Reach out to God for guidance. And guys, it can be maybe a teacher. Maybe it's a coach that you're close to. Maybe it's a leader here at youth group. Maybe it's your parents. But reach out for advice for someone who is deeply rooted in Christ, someone who's going to give you good biblical advice. That's how you need to ask, not your best friend that doesn't even know God. They might give you some good advice, but biblical advice trumps good advice any day. So moving on to our fourth scene is the sad and cold encounter. Okay, so keep in mind that, Absalom's back in Jerusalem now, but they have not talked for 2 years. And finally, the king is like, okay, I'll meet with them. Send him in. And this is what happens. Turn to 2 Samuel 15:1. Oh, just kidding. 2 Samuel 14:33. 2 Samuel 14:33. I'll give you guys a second. So Joab is one of King David's servants, and Joab went and got him and sent him in. And it starts here. So Joab went to the king and told him this. Then the king summoned Absalom in, and he came in, and he bowed down with his face to the ground before the king, and the king kissed Absalom. So you can kind of see the images here. I like images. Now, a lot of you guys are like, oh, the king kissed him. He must have missed him. Guys, no. This is a very cold formality. This was just a normal thing. Everybody that came before the king would bow down, and the king would be like, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming, okay? And it was a very cold formality. Nothing special or intimate about it. What it should have been was, oh my gosh, my son, I've missed you so much. I haven't seen you in 5 years. I forgive you for everything. There should be tears. Please forgive me. I love you so much. Let's just start over scratch. Everything is in the past. Or maybe the king could have been like, this is why I acted the way I was. But there should be more than just, hello, father. Hello, son. And that's just, it's cold. It's sad. So Satan wants us to be stubborn. Satan wants us to be unforgiving because it poisons our heart and it poisons our soul. And that's exactly what Satan wants to do. God wants us to forgive because it is the peace that will heal us. After all, God forgives us for everything, right? And here's something that I didn't know when I was your age. Well, I didn't really know God when I was your age, but when I was starting off, forgiveness isn't always for the other person. Forgiveness is for us. It's us saying, God, I give my unforgiveness. I hand this person to you. You're the judge. You deal with them. I want you to give me peace. That's what it's saying. By forgiving someone, you're freeing yourself, not the other person. And we get that mixed up. So what we can learn from this scene is don't let your stubbornness get in the way of forgiveness. Don't let it happen. Don't ruin a relationship over stubbornness. Raise your hand if you're stubborn. I am so stubborn. Guys, stubbornness is the devil's workshop. I've said some really mean things to people out of anger and stubbornness. And I have to control it. And I have to ask God constantly to help me control it. Don't let Satan win. Don't give him that gratification. And we come to our final scene of Absalom's death. He dies. Spoiler alert. So Absalom decides, you know what? Did you see how my father acted? Just kissed me on the cheek. I want his throne. It just angered him more. I'm going to take his throne. I want to do that. So turn to 2 Samuel 15:1. So it's the same page, just move down the bench a little bit. And I'm going to read. In the course of time, Absalom provided himself with a chariot and horses and 50 men to run ahead of him. Provided himself. He would get up early and stand by the side of the road leading to the city gate. Whenever anyone came with a complaint to be placed before the king for a decision, Absalom would call out to him, "What town are you from?" He would answer, "Your servant is from the tribes of Israel." Then Absalom would say to him, "Look, your claims are valid and proper, but there is no representative of the king to hear you." And Absalom would add, "If only I were appointed judge in the land, then everyone who had a complaint or case would come to me, and I would see that they received justice." Also, whenever anyone approached him to bow down before him, Absalom would reach out his hand, take a hold of him, and kiss him. Absalom behaved in this way towards all the Israelites who came to the king asking for justice. And so he stole the hearts of the people of Israel. Politician, okay? He's out there giving the people what they want, telling the people what they want to hear. Oh, I promised this and I promised that. Sounds like a presidential election to me. Right now, whether they fall through those promises is a whole different ballgame, but he is trying to win the hearts of the people. He wants to overthrow his dad. Struggle bus. Absalom begins this treacherous plot to take his father's throne. Then there ends up being a big battle. Lots of people die. Okay? Lots of people die over this silly little issue that could have been fixed with forgiveness, love, and acceptance. But no, let's just kill a bunch of people in a battle. And now we're going to talk about how Absalom dies. Okay, you see this picture of him hanging in the tree by his, by his hair. Now remember, he had this glorious, lustrous, thick hair that would make girls jealous. Hair that girls would be like, "Oh gosh, what shampoo and conditioner did you use? I've got to get on that regimen." Okay, now this is what happens. He is riding through the forest on his horse. His hair gets tangled in the trees, and he gets hoisted up off of his horse. I can't make this stuff up, okay? All I have to say to him is, you should have had a man bun. I don't know if all this would happen if he would have just had a man bun, but it did. And so he's dangling from this tree, and he gets 3 spears straight to the heart, and he dies. So then news of his death is brought to the king. And the scene closes with David weeping with regret of not fixing that relationship. So turn to 2 Samuel 18:33, and we're going to see how this tragic story ends. So the king was shaken. He went up to the room over the gateway, and he wept. As he went, he said, "Oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom, if only I had died instead of you. Oh, Absalom, my son, my son." He is so upset with himself. That love was there the whole time, but there are things keeping them from mending that relationship. So the takeaway from this scene about relationships is that don't wait until it's too late to restore a broken relationship. Guys, no one in this room is promised another day. No one. People in our lives are going to let us down. Our family will deceive us. Friends will break our trust. Boyfriends and girlfriends will betray us, cheat on us. Coaches will lie to us. And guys, that's called life. Get used to it. This life on earth is not sunshine and rainbows. So if you're waiting for your sunshine and rainbow, it's not going to last forever. That is why we must put our hope and our trust in God, because he will never deceive us, break our trust, betray us, or lie to us. God is love. The greatest relationship we can have is with God. It is the most important relationship we could ever have. Does your life reflect that? Does your life reflect that God is the most important relationship you have? If you have bitterness and unforgiveness in your heart towards someone today, would you confess that to God and lead to the path of healing and free yourself from the bondage of unforgiveness? Because remember, forgiving someone is just putting them in your hand and saying, "God, take them. I don't want this burden anymore. I don't want this bitterness anymore. I don't want this hatred anymore. Take them. They're yours. You're the judge. Free me from it. Help me forgive them." So on your notes at the very bottom, there's a little blank. Who do I need to forgive? What relationship do I need to mend? I want you to write a name in there, because I know we all have someone. Maybe you have several names that you need to write in there. I want you to go home tonight, And I want you to talk to God in your bedroom by yourself and say, God, help me with this. I can't forgive them. My heart is hardened. I need you to soften it. I need you to show me how to get rid of this.